Alright, yeah, welcome back to some more Magic Arena and back to the old Coco series. That's where we jam Collected Company into as many tribes as we possibly can to see how many tribes are viable as long as they've got Collected Company in them today. And we're going to be playing with fish today. Good old Coco fish, merfolks to be specific. And obviously, Collected Company being the build around here, for those who don't know it, it's a 4-mana instant. Allows you to look at the top 6 cards of your library and put 2 creature cards from among them with converting mana cost 3 or less onto the battlefield, and then the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So Collected Company is a tribal card a lot of the time, or it's a creature deck, essentially, kind of card. And it demands that your deck be almost exclusively creatures in order to hit consistently. Merfolk has the advantage of having lots of Lord effects. That's actually its kind of strategic advantage, let's say. So we've got Merfolk Mistbinder, we've got Mirror-Regery, we've got Kumena to a certain extent, we also have Glasspool Mimic to a certain extent as well, and I guess Deeproot Elite to a certain extent. You can kind of get the idea that there's a lot of, to a certain extent, we have Lords. So Mistbinder obviously gives +1/+1, Mirror-Regery does the exact same thing, however this one has a cast trigger on it. It's from one of the historic anthologies, by the way. Whenever you cast a Merfolk spell, you can tap or untap a target permanent. This basically is cost reduction in the early game to allow you to empty your entire hand, and then in the late game it allows you to tap down your opponent's attacking board and then swing for lethal. We have Kumena, Tyrant of Araska. It's kind of like the leader of the Merfolk, I guess. 3 mana, 2/4. You tap an untapped Merfolk you control, and Kumena becomes unblockable. So we can use Deeproot Elite to put counters on it and make it a very large, unblockable threat. We can tap 3 untapped Merfolk to draw a card, so that's kind of nice as a way to regain a little bit of value through a board wipe or something. Or if the board is stalled, we can build up that way. Can also tap 5 untapped Merfolk we control to put a counter on each Merfolk we control. So again, a stalled board means that we can slowly grow our team until we're ready to swing in with it. It's only a 2-of, because it's kind of really weird to use in an aggro list. It's mainly there for board stalling. So yeah, that's why it's only a 2-of. It obviously doesn't provide much Lord effect until you are doing nothing with your time. So that's the one thing. Deeproot Elite is a 2-mana 1/1. It says whenever a Merfolk enters the battlefield, you put a counter on a Merfolk. So it's kind of include it in the Lord effects side of things, because obviously we're going to be playing non-stop Merfolk throughout the game. And as we do that, we're going to be able to build up the size of our creatures as we go. And yeah, more Deeproot Elites means more counters means larger creatures. And then finally, obviously, the Glasspool Mimic. This allows us to do 2 things. It can also be another Lord effect, so we can use that to copy the Mirror-Regery, which is quite nice. It is the only non-Merfolk in our list, technically. And yeah, it's the one that won't trigger off of much, but it will always be a copy of Merfolk, so it will always get that +1/+1 kind of thing, and enters, I believe, as a Merfolk, so it'll trigger Deeproot Elite. So that's kind of nice. But it also doubles down as a land drop. We are running a whopping 20 lands in this list with 4 Glasspool Mimics, which enter the battlefield tapped. That means we can run a virtual 24 lands without actually having to do so. We can keep that nice, aggressive mana base going, and the mana base is actually really nice for this list, and we'll get to that at the end. So that's one upside of Glasspool Mimic. I absolutely do enjoy this card quite a lot. So the rest of the deck is kind of Merfolk, creature, aggro, you know, it's what you'd expect. Lots of 1-drops, which combos very nicely with the Mirror-Regery. So we've got the Benthic Biomancer, a 1-mana 1/1, has Adapt 1, which basically means if 1 or more counters are put on the Benthic Biomancer, you get to draw a card, then discard a card. The Adapt allows you to put on the first counter, and then you can't use it after that. So this combos nicely with Deeproot Elite, which says whenever a Merfolk enters, you get to put a counter on it. So basically we get to loot whenever we have a Merfolk enter the battlefield. So against something like a control deck, we can loot away lands until we find Collected Company to give us that end step value. That's one way to use it. And otherwise we can just, you know, build it up. We got some Mistcloaked Heralds, a 1-mana 1/1, it cannot be blocked. Again, it's kind of like that Kumena thing, it breaks board stalls, and we can use the Deeproot Elites as well as the Lord effects to make it quite large and a threat that our opponent is required to answer, otherwise they'll die. And then finally, Kumena Speaker, 1-mana green, gets +1/+1 as long as you control another merfolk or an island as well. Breeding Pool being a forest island is probably the best land to play off the Kumena Speaker, because then it comes out immediately as a 2/2 on turn 1. It's not too necessary for that to be the case, of course, but you never know. But yeah, these 1-drops are also really just nice with the Mirror Regery, because as we've mentioned, whenever you cast a merfolk spell, you get to untap a permanent, which means the permanent that you tapped in order to play your 1-drops, you can untap again. So all these 1-drops are free, and that means we can get Deeproot Elite triggers, we can chain with Realm Walkers, you get the idea. We can put down as many merfolk as we want and go wide on the board, ready for an Alpha Strike. So, simply put, that's the list. I guess we've got Silvergill Adepts as well. It's a 2-mana 2/1, as long as you reveal a merfolk, which you'll do, because you're going to be playing out all your hand anyway. And then when it enters, it gets to draw a card, so we can dig for extra pieces, extra lords, extra Cocos, extra lands, you know the idea. And then Realm Walker is a merfolk, don't question it, and it allows us to cast merfolk off the top of our library. Again, it's one of those nice rebuilding tools similar to Collected Company. If it's our last creature in our hand, then we can use that to play as many merfolk off the top of our deck as possible, so we don't really need a full hand post-board wipe if we've got a Realm Walker or a Collected Company. As I said, the mana base is really nice for this one. So not only did we have Botanical Sanctum coming out of Kaladesh Remastered, we also had a new pathway coming out of Kaldheim as well. So we've got 2 Simic lands which come into play untapped, really nice and early, and could be either colour that we want them to be in the early game. We also have Unclaimed Territory as well, which is a tribal-based land. You choose a creature type, and then you can add mana of any colour to cast that creature type, which is really nice. We're only running 3 of those because we don't really want to get stuck not being able to cast like a Glasspool Mimic or not being able to cast a Collected Company. These 2 are the only cards that don't benefit from Unclaimed Territory, so that's why it's a 3 of. You could probably put it as a 4 of and not get punished, but I don't think there's any real reason to. I think once you've got your green and your blue, it's all about the amount of lands you have rather than the colour of them. I think it'll be extremely difficult to get colour screwed in this deck, but stick around. I'm sure eventually that will happen to me. Breeding Pool, as we mentioned, and then 3 forests and 2 islands to round it all out. And yeah, that is essentially the deck. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. If you do, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Leave a comment down below to feed the algorithm so that the YouTube overlords notice me, because I really need Senpai to notice me eventually. He's not noticed me in a little while, so anyone who does share the video and comment and like and subscribe, all of that, I really do greatly appreciate it. And most of all, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and let's get to it, shall we? This video is brought to you by the generous support of our wonderful patrons and channel members that you see here. If you'd like to support the channel and get access to cool content like sneak peeks, bonus videos, polls on future content, or access to a personal deck critique from myself every month, then hit the join button down below, or check out the Patreon link in the description. With all that said, let's get into the gameplay. Alrighty then, we're in, and this hand looks pretty good. Opponent goes first. We go turn 1, Kumena Speaker. Turn 2, play the island, that gets a pump. Play Deeproot Elite, I guess? I guess it depends on what we top deck. Like, if we get a Merfolk Mistbinder, maybe that's the play. I'm going to keep this hand, though, anyway. It's got a really nice curve to it. So yeah, one of the main reasons why I kind of want to play around with the fish is because we actually got like Botanical Sanctums and things like that. And that alongside things like Unclaimed Territory as well just means that I think this tribe has got perfect mana. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Stomping ground for our opponent, probably like a Gruul aggro list, so if we can get the Deeproot Elite to avoid getting stomped, that might be quite nice. Perhaps our opponent wants to actually go in and stomp the Kumena Speaker, which I'd be all for, because if we could go Deeproot Elite, and then just start dumping down Lord effects, that'd be pretty sweet. So yeah, they do have a Voltaic Brawler. I think I'm going to go with Deeproot Elite. The worst case scenario is I'm just playing Lords anyway. Let's see if they want to take a trade. Love for them to take a trade as the aggressive deck here. With a pretty long game related looking hand here. There's no way this survives, right? It's one stomp away from death. Turn after that, we'll go Mirror Regery, and then that will allow us to tap and untap our permanents. Which should hopefully mean we can empty our hand the turn after. Or at least make a good attempt at it. Yeah, Lightning Strike Deeper Elite. No surprises there. Lightning Strike's a bit of an odd one, though. Maybe it's a budget consideration for them. Could certainly see that being the case. Alright, so we're going to name Merfolk. And we're going to dump down a Regery. Again, it'd be nice to have that survive, but if it doesn't, we'll see what happens. Basically, it's cost reducer on all of our creatures, so they all cost 1 now in a nutshell. Because we pay 2, cast trigger untaps 1, pay 2, cast trigger untaps 1 so far. So on and so forth. And alongside a Deeproot Elite, it's going to be pretty decent. Robber of the Rich. 1 card down from us, which means they get to steal a card. Is the card going to be good, though? Nope. Alright, take the damage. Alright, let's see if we can explode with value here. Voltaic Brawler for our opponent. Well, that's a free card. Alright, so we're going to go green, Deeproot Elite, untap the Unclaimed Territory. Going to play, I guess, Silvergill. Reveal the Mistcloaked Heralds. Untap the territory. Let's pump the Mirror Regery here, I think. And there's a Collected Company, wonderful. And then we're going to tap the Voltaic Brawler, I think, here. And we're not planning on blocking with Regery, so let's put a counter on it instead. And swing for 4. How much do I want to hold back is the real question. And should I have gone with Mistbinder instead of Silvergill as well for larger creatures? That could have also been correct. Kind of figured with Deeproot Elite out I was going to get that value anyway. I'm just going to hold back a little bit. Intimidated by our opponent's board state and the potential for an Embercleave. I'm not sure though. Silvergill blocks a Voltaic Brawler quite nicely. Commander Speaker obviously blocks Robber of the Rich quite nicely as well. Most of them have Trample though. Especially with the Embercleave that we are suspicious that they might have. But, you know, they are running Lightning Strike, which suggests to me that they are a budget list, so maybe they don't have all the Embercleaves. I don't know why you'd be playing Gruul aggro without Embercleave, though. It wouldn't be my first go-to deck that I'd be working up. But you never know, I suppose. There's a Spellbreaker with haste. Can you afford to attack in, though? So there's a couple of trades there. And this shouldn't really matter, I don't think, because there's a good chance that I just win anyway. So, let's see. 4, 8, 9, 10, 11. I only have to block 1 of them. So, let's just block with Mistcloaked Herald here. That's 2 less damage. So that's 2, 6, 7, 8, 9. We go to 1. Did they play their land? They didn't play a land, actually, so That would put me dead to land Lightning Strike, but I'm going to take the chance. I don't think they have that. Deep-Root Elite, and that should do it, actually. So we're going to untap the Unclaimed Territory. Pump up the Deep-Root Elite. And Merfolk Mistbinder. Tap the Robber of the Rich. Pump up this one and this one. Yep, can only block 1, so they block a 5, they take 14. GG. Could have played that a little bit smoother, as I said. I think the correct play earlier was to play the Mistbinder instead of the Deep-Root Elite, I think it was. Just to pump up our team in general, rather than one counter at a time. But it worked out, so we don't linger on mistakes that didn't matter. And we just move on to the next game. Alrighty then, opponent goes first. This sounds kind of slow, but it's got several lords in it, so I'm kind of here for it. Nonetheless, our mana base seems pretty reasonable. We do need another land, but Silvergill Adept is a redraw, as well as our top deck as well. So who knows? We top deck another land, another lord. I would have preferred a land, but a lord will do. Alright. I'm going to put this on blue. I think we're majority blue. It's almost 50-50, I think, but... let's go with... I want to say Silvergill Adept as a redraw, but... yeah, I think it's actually Silvergill Adept. We'll show our opponent a Mistcloaked Herald. It's the least scary of them all. 1-drops are always good when you've got a Mirror Regery as well, though. They're actually literally free to cast. Opponent puts a Doomscar into their Foretell Zone. It's always Doomscar, if you're wondering. So I'm not going to play the Deep-Root Elite because it encourages me to go a little bit too wide. I am probably just going to play one of the Lords because I've got plenty of them. This is 5 damage. They're going to have to fire off that Doomscar sooner rather than later. And honestly, it appears to me like this matchup is more than likely going to come down to me not drawing lands than whatever my opponent has here. So, yeah. It's going to be the functionality of my deck that wins or loses this game. But, you know, I could make it my fault by playing too much into that board wipe. And now I don't have to. Alright, we got ourselves a breeding pool. So I could shock in to play Mirror Regery, which means I can then next turn go Mistcloaked Herald, Speaker, and then play Mistbinder. That's a pretty go-wide strategy straight into the next Doomscar. So obviously I'm not really into that idea too much. Could play Deep-Root Elite, Cumena Speaker. Kind of like that idea. I think that's actually where I'm going to go. Or I guess Mistcloaked Herald, actually, because they know about it. Then we'll put a counter on the unblockable one. It's all about maintaining a level of pressure on our opponent that forces them to be defensive rather than proactive with their win cons. Alright, so another Deep-Root Elite. And also, it is key that we don't commit too much to the board at any given time. Because we want to be able to rebuild straight after. Realm Walker's a good way of doing that, but these decks run Cage quite a lot, so Realm Walker loses its value in that regard. I think I'm just going to do pretty much the same thing. We're going to go Deep-Root Elite, Cumena Speaker again. Counter on the Herald for the most damage. Because we might just get land Doomscarred again. I'm pretty happy maintaining just this board state for a while as well. Another Banishing Light, okay. Let's go Regery. spread the love, and get on in. And this is a board wipe, or a answer here, or they're dead kind of deal. And that will not do it. We play a Mistbinder, it taps down the Angel, and we swing for lethal. Oosh. Merfolk, coming back strong. Alright, next game. Alrighty then, you go first, you say. That's the first. We've been on the draw the past 2 games, so being on the play is where we want to be. This hand's a little bit slow for being on the play, but I think it's keepable nonetheless. I'm wondering whether or not we actually go Glasspool Mimic tapped. I kind of think that we do. We run 20 lands in this deck and 4 Mimics. They're kind of here as a potential land drop for the future, so I think because we got no turn 1 play, I think we'll drop down the Glasspool Shore. Makes our opponent think that we're Neostorm as well, because it's basically the only other place that gets played. Soulscar Mage. This is going to be a weird one for sure. We do get to reveal some Merfolk, though, which are annoyances to get in the way of our opponent's damage here. I want to get my Silvergill Adepts bolted and destroyed before any of my Lords are, because if I can get the Lords out last and they don't have removal, then I can pump them out of future top deck range. You can have that. Realm Walker. So we didn't draw a 1-drop, which makes me kind of want to play something like Realm Walker, which is a bigger booty creature. Could also play Cumena. Yeah, Cumena's actually not even remotely a big deal about getting blown out here. I think we'll just pass. We'll probably offer some trades on the block as well. I could care less if Cumena dies here. And our opponent's all for it. Alright, so we are going to block here, block here. See if our opponent wants to trade 3 cards for 2. Don't care if they shock Cumena at all. I guess the Soulscar Mage side of things is a little less ideal, but yeah. Guess that doesn't quite work out how I'd have liked, but here we are. Light up the stage. Continues the streak of... Well, they've actually ruined the streak of good draws by getting garbage. Alright. I think I'm going to go Regery here. If it lives, we can take a hit from our board, so we don't have to block. If it lives, we get to untap and do some disgusting things. I think that's the line. Do I want to shock myself to play a 2-2, though? Which is effectively free next turn if the Regery lives. It's 2 damage to probably block 2 damage, though. This is hard to say, but I guess there's no real need not to, right? Tap the Sanctum. It's either going to block a Burning Tree or it's not. It's going to cost us 2 life either way. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, you see, I think I'm just trading off here. One mana short of playing at least a Mistbinder here. I'm just going to Coco, I think. We're probably dead, though. This is too aggressive for us. We didn't really get off to a good start. We had a slow hand, like we said, right at the very beginning. On the play, playing 2 drops against mono red's probably not where you want to be. But we could potentially get a blocker, a chump blocker, and something else that allows us to profitably block the other two, so there's potential for a tiny little bit of a blowout. But between Hazoret discarding, Ramanat Ruins, doing all of its shenanigans... Yeah, that's not a burn spell you've got in hand. Good to know. Double Deep Root Elite. Okay, so I'm going to pump the Deep Root Elite, pump the Regery twice over, I think. And then chomp. Another Deep Root. Okay, so let's go... So I could do Deep Root Elite, cost me 1. Untaps the territory. Silvergill reveals Mistbinder, draws me a card. I either play a Realm Walker or Mistbinder after that, I guess. This should hopefully help me generate a board of wonderful creatures that I care about. Yes. I can block with a Silvergill Adept while building up a nice little tasty board here. And we got that channel pathway. Let's put it on blue. It's probably Realm Walker. I don't think it makes too much of a difference, but... In fact, I might already be dead, to be honest. Tap you, name Merfolk. And I guess what I could do is I could pump the Deep Root Elite to be large enough to block Hazoret without losing creatures. And then get him for 4 here. So the Crack Ruins takes me to 4. They don't quite have the mana to kill me though, right? So this is 3 for 2 damage. I have to block everything. But I've kind of got the board for that. Bomat Courier. I think with the Mistbinder here, we're going to have a lot of attacking power, and Mirror Regery is going to allow me to tap down their entire board as well, so I think we've won. Tap you. Is this whenever you cast a Merfolk, tap or untap a type permanent? Did I not get the opportunity to do that? I did there. Alright, well, untap there. I don't know, maybe I blanked out. Pump up the squad. Reveal a Merfolk. You. Untap there. Let's pump you, pump you. You're free. Tap you. Oh yeah, because I tapped the opponent's thing instead of my own thing, that's why. Let's put counters here and here. And then tap you. Sometimes, chat, all people brain fart, you know? It happens. Happens to the best of us. Alright. Send it. Oh, One's got to be quite upset about that one, I think. That's, yes, it's not the way you want to go out as Mono Red, being exceptionally close to winning. But, you know, I think we gave them every opportunity to, with some loose plays, which is the theme of today's video, I think. This deck's not that easy to pilot for a deck that, like, tries to win on turn 4 with hyper-aggressive plays. There's a lot of tapping and untapping and putting counters in specific places, and yeah, it's a weird one. Either way, nice game. Alright, we go first. We don't have the island for Cumena Speaker, but we do have some Benthic Biomancers ready to go. Yep, we're going to keep this one on the play. It's really nice and aggressive. Let's go with Botanical Sanctum. I guess we lead off with Cumena Speaker first, because it actually is island or another merfolk, so... Playing out like Mistbinder is a +2/+2 for Speaker, so that's kind of cool. Goblin Sleeves for our opponent. Is it going to be the Goblin matchup? Who knows? Who knows? Alright, well, we've already got our one green. We don't have double green. We technically don't have double blue either, but we've got a lot of blue in our hand anyway. Let's go with Biomancer here, I think. Let's get the board nice and large to Mistbinder out later. If it is goblins, they're going to have lots of 1/1s. Yeah. So, Mistbinder down as a little bit of a surprise card is going to be quite nice here. Send it in again. Put her up onto 11. A land would be great, because we can double Lord off of a Collected Company, potentially. Alternatively, I can just Glasspool Mimic another Mistbinder here. And even probably set up for the Coco the next turn. Let's send it. We're all in on aggression. We're trying to force as many blocks as possible from our opponent. Less blocks they have, the less power Skirt Prospector holds over us. We don't really want it opening up the potential to Prospector into enough goblins to get a Muxus out, essentially, so... Yeah, this is it. This is game over, opponent. You have lost. You can concede now. Quickest game of all time. I mean, maybe they can go for a Gem Palm. You don't see Gem Palm too often these days, but they can certainly try for it. The problem is, they Gem Palm one creature, I still have 4 attackers to their 3 blockers. Alright, they're going to go with an Instigator. And, I was going to go to Combat and Collected Company, because I don't think it really matters what we hit, as long as we attack in and we get probably like 1 Lord effect or something like that. It really just upsets their blocks and goes around them anyway. We don't have hasty creatures, so there's no pre-combat reason for Collected Company. So it's either mid-combat or end-step you want to be using this. And yeah, managed to get it there. I mean, it looks like everything is a forced block, so it leaves them with nothing, and 5 mana for a Muxus player, it doesn't mean that they can just go land, Muxus, go, essentially. So, yeah, pretty solid. Are we now like 4 or 5-0 at this point? I know we haven't dropped a game, I just don't know how many games we've had. It's like 4, I think, something like that, and they've been... Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. Loose plays and still winning. You love to see it. Alrighty then, it's a Lurrus list, and they go first. This sounds pretty nice and aggressive. Yeah, I'm for it. Lurrus usually means either Auras or Arcanist, and I don't really think this hand needs to be any different for either matchup. Concealed Courtyard, maybe Black-White Auras then. We'll go with a Cumena Speaker to lead. It'll get the +1/+1 from Deep-Root Elite entering. Yeah, it looks like Black-White Auras. So it could be Miscloaked Heralds being the key to victory here. I'm just going to take the value of Deeproot Elite, though, and try and run with that. The main thing we want to dodge from our opponent is Lifelink, but I don't think this deck runs that. I think it's more removal-based. It Thought Seizes, it adds, like, --/ auras, things like that to your opponent's stuff. It was in the recent Kaldheim Championship, or whatever you want to call it. Deadweight and Cumena Speaker is a strange and probably incorrect play. But if they've got extras, then it doesn't matter. Yeah, it had extras. Alright. And Sentinel's Eyes beatdown begins. Name Merfolk. We're going to go Deeproot Elite. We're going to kind of hope they don't have more of it. We could go Benthic Biomancer out of counter, and that means that we get to loot. We could do that next turn, though. Let's just get a Miscloaked Herald down and start adding counters to it, I think. Because we're obviously not really going to be able to push through Core Spirit Dancer. So we just have to hope that it doesn't get flying, so we can keep blocking it. And hope that we don't have to block it with anything important, which so far we don't. Yep, take 6. Could be next turn. All that glitters flying creature, that's all it really takes. So let's go Benthic Biomancer. Gonna put a counter on the Biomancer to loot. Was hoping for a land drop, we got Glasspool Mimic. Gonna dump the Realm Walker, it's too slow. And let's go Merfolk Mistbinder, I think. Let's get aggressive. We'll be chumping with Biomancer if we even are allowed to. We might just be dead here, though. There's a 1 white flying aura that this deck runs. I think it runs it in small amounts, though. I'm not sure. It's about their only form of evasion, though, outside of just hard removal. And they've used 2 deadweights already, so... Yeah, I think it's called, like, Maya's Grasp or something like that. It's out of Theros, and it has Escape. It's like a +2/-1 effect or something like that. Oh, no, Maya's Grasp is a different one, actually, as it turns out. Alright, gets rid of my Lord. This is probably going to be the first game that we drop. I mean... It seems like a pretty rough matchup no matter what happens. Gonna put that on Sram. So, it's a force block anyway. We're gonna block the most amount of damage here. I just don't see a world where we get to live here, honestly. It's like, I could play Biomancer, looking for Coco, but if I get Coco, I'm 1 mana short of casting it anyway. I can dump the whole team and make Miscloaked Herald a 5/5, I guess. And then chumping with a team has its merits, I guess. We just don't want to see that 1/1 token become 5 power, otherwise the Deeproot Elite has to block. And again, flying kills us. Removal kills us, basically. I need a chain of spells together that makes Miscloaked Herald a 9/9. I guess that's Coco into Deeproot Elites. Looks like they are going to go on the plan that we hoped they wouldn't, which is making a 2/2 into a 5/5. More than capable of doing it with 9 million cards. 2 more spells to put on it, and 3 mana. It's easily enough. Easily doable. Yep, 1 more. There we go. Alright, so now I have the triple block problem. And we have a 5/5 that I don't think is possible to make into a 9/9. Even more mana. Heliod's Punishment, I can't block. Alright, well, that's going to be game. Let's see what we would have drawn. It was a land. Alright, so we had nothing. We were going to lose anyway. Cool. Alright, we dropped our first game. I think we're 4-1 now. It's a pretty decent deck, though. I'll give it that. Oh, yep, they're attacking with everything. I'm inclined to allow them. You're welcome, opponent. Yeah, I think we're 4-1. I want to keep going for another game, though. This deck's fun. This deck's real fun. Alrighty then. Slow hand on the play. We've got turn 2 Mistbinder, turn 3 Realmwalker, turn 4 Coco. I feel like you could make an argument for mulliganing. But I also don't think this hand's that bad that it needs to be mulled. It's a lot of lands, though. 4 of our 20 in our opening hands. Odds of drawing more are lower. Yeah. Every cloud has a silver lining. And we're up against Soul Sisters, maybe? Alright. Could also be Mono White Angels. I think that's going to be a problem matchup for us, for sure. If it's Green White Angels here. Yeah, it is. Alright. I think we're going to have trouble with this one. Could be going 4-2 before we even know it. We're going to name Merfolk with Realmwalker here. And there's no attacks here. I suppose we could swing in with the Mistbinder to trade the Soul Warden. Not sure if that's necessarily what you want to be doing, though. Want to keep them away from 27 life, which is doable with a Coco attack, probably. One might hope. Although, do I want the Coco attack here? I could still get my aggression going. It puts them on 27, though, when they don't block with enough stuff. And every creature I play is going to put them into dangerous territory. I think we actually have already lost with the Double Speaker of Heavens. So the one thing I can do is I can just play my entire board and lol the entire way. Lol. So they're at 27. Let's go Mistcloaked Herald. Swing with the team. See how they want to block. Again, they want to be at 27, because that means that the speakers can make 4/4s. Soul Warden's kind of like the one card that really, really destroys us here. It's a hard counter to our deck, I would say. And they're definitely doing the math on whether or not they should chump. And whether or not they can get back up to 27 with their speakers here. Another speaker, okay. It's up to 24. Hold back to block, you love to see it. Alright, unclaimed territory on Merfolk. We're going to swing in with the entire team here and then see how they want to block. After blocks, we'll Coco. There's a really good chance that we hit lots of Lord effects here, so double blocks are going to be fantastic. Single blocks are just going to be beneficial. That's a pretty good block for them, for sure. I'm going to make sure the speaker dies. And then we're going to whiff really hard. Okay. Name Merfolk. Alright, well, our Mistbinder lived. So there's that. And we have, I guess, the superior board state at this point. Yeah. Okay. That was a horrendous whiff. We've got like 32 creatures in this deck, I think. Something like that. So Collected Company are only hitting 2 creatures and also hitting... Well, they hit 1 Lord. That's all we needed. We just wanted another Lord effect. So that could have been a Mirror-Regery, another Mistbinder, a Glasspool Mimic, or even a... the 1 mana 1/1 that puts counters on things. Even Cumena, I guess, to a certain extent, would have been fine over another Realm Walker. But, you know, we take the victories that we get, because, you know, this could have gone horribly wrong. I actually thought we were going to lose this Soul Warden, but no, pressure enough was good enough. Alright, well, I think that's going to do it for today's video, guys. Yeah, this list surprised me. It's actually better than I gave it credit for. Merfolk might kind of be a thing. Kind of, but probably not really. It's always been in that spot, I think. Where, well, actually, it went straight down to meme potential, and I think it was a tier 1 deck for a week back in Ixalan days, but yeah, Coco really gives this deck some legs. And I guess as well, Realm Walker to a certain extent, though we didn't get too much use out of that one during today's video. We used it once, I guess, to win against Mono Red, but yeah, I don't know. This deck's pretty fun, though. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed. If you have, we would really appreciate if you do hit that like button and subscribe, as always. Appreciate all the assistance you can give to the old algorithm as well. Say hello to the algorithm if you're feeling frisky, you know. I hear it likes that, and then it gives me more eyes from the YouTube overlords, so it's pretty useful if y'all do that. I really appreciate it. Anyway, take care, guys, and have a wonderful night.